first time I've seen one of our wrestlers come up on this loading screen. That's interesting. Mike Cash, of course, the Preacher. He is from Stourbridge, England. He is a middleweight, and he is the leader of all things Cashology. Just waiting to get into our next set of tapings. We have an interesting battle royal coming up, as well as Foxcatcher has a word to say to Johnny Rose ahead of their match in 2 weeks' time. Anything in the news worth mentioning? Dean Malenko is staying with AEW. Frustrated Rusev. Why? He's been out of work for 6 months now. I don't know why no one would have picked him up. I don't think we could. Yeah, we can't afford. I would love Rusev in my company, but 1,000 per show for a company that makes probably 9,000 might be worth it. So here we are then. We're here to tape our set of shows. We're going to take place at the Wolverley Sports and Social Club once again. We're expecting. How many are we expecting? 64 people. So the wrestling business is not the most flourishing at the moment here in the Midlands. We're going to start booking the show then. Welcome back, and we are here to do the card. So this is our first taping since you last saw us, and we shall get into the show. We kick it off with a match between Johnny Rose and Luke T. McFunk in a bout that had decent reaction from the crowd but terrible wrestling. Johnny Rose defeated Luke T. McFunk in 5 minutes and 40 seconds by pinfall with a high knee. This gets a segment rating of 21. Johnny Rose has a 20, Luke T. McFunk with a strong 26. Johnny Rose was off his game once again. We're going to have to look to see if Johnny Rose needs to pick up his game, because it's not working right now for him. But he picked up the win nonetheless. This match got the crowd hotter. This match got the show off to a strong start. Next up we have the Foxcatcher cutting a promo on the victor Johnny Rose. He tells him, "Next week, what, you're going to take on me for my British Championship. You are a British wrestling legend, but you are not on the level of the Foxcatcher. What? And he will prove that next week when he defends his title, and successfully defends that title against Johnny Rose, as I said. So that coming next week. It's a strong performance from Foxcatcher. He gets a segment rating of 27 as the show rolls on here. And in our next bout we have Riho taking on Alex Windsor. In a bout that had decent reaction from the crowd once again, but terrible wrestling, Riho defeated Alex Windsor in 6 minutes and 13 seconds by pinfall with a fisherman neckbreaker. This gets a segment rating of 21, and Riho had a 23 and Alex Windsor 21. So Riho, stronger performance, and she picks up the win, so that's good to know. Alex Windsor had a bit of an off day, but hopefully she can improve next time we see her in the ring. And this match got the crowd hotter once again. Next up we have Dickie Bowen and Nick Flag in the back. A while back they agreed to team up after Nick Flag saved Dickie Bowen from a 3-on-1 attack. And now Dickie Bowen is reassuring Nick Flag that next week for his title match, Dickie Bowen will be in his corner, helping him out to even the odds against Thomas J. Curtis, Dickie Bowen's former manager. And this gets a segment rating of 27, strong again, once again. We can't turn Nick Flag face yet, I don't know why. We've been trying it for a very long time now, but nonetheless it's been a bit of a pain to try and get it sorted. But we'll find out one way or the other. We will turn Nick Flag face, but at the moment he's still the heel. Segment rating of 27, strong as we go into our main event. Our main event is of course the Battle Royal, the #1 contendership for the YouTube Championship, our third title. In a match with 10 members of the roster involved, it had decent reaction from the crowd, but terrible wrestling. Triple B, Bam Bam Booyah, picks up the win in 9 minutes and 41 seconds. The other members of the final four were Tony Pacino, Mike Cash and John Allens, with Tony Pacino being the final elimination. Soul Killer got the most eliminations over the course of the match, but somehow didn't make the final four. Nonetheless, segment rating of 25 to end the show. This is a strong end. Mark Billington, subtle mannerisms to hint at a future face turn. I believe we can do his face turn, so we will do it. And it is He's changed his gimmick as well to a second generation star. He is of course the family member of the Dynamite Kid, and it got an initial rating of very good. This rating is likely to rise over time as the fans get used to the new gimmick. And the turn was a complete success, so that's good to know as well. That's the end of the show then. Overall, we get a strong rating. I get 19. The crowd wasn't happy as they expected more angles and interview segments. I only had 2 and then I had 3 matches. So I'm going to have to bear that in mind going forward. I did cut them down really short compared to the match lengths because of that Battle Royal. So usually it wouldn't be that bad. So, strong show nonetheless. We're around that sort of a level at the moment as we go. We've increased our popularity in 8 regions, so good to know. Next up, our second show of the taping then. Welcome back. We are going to get straight into this card then. We have the big title matches tonight, so let's get into it. First up, we have Foxcatcher defending his British Championship against Johnny Rose. And in a bout that had decent reaction from the crowd but subpar wrestling, Foxcatcher defeated Johnny Rose in 7 minutes and 42 seconds by pinfall with a frog splash. Foxcatcher makes defense number 3 of his AWA British Championship title. Foxcatcher got a rating of 29, solid performance from him. Johnny Rose got a 24, better from him after the recent disappointing results from him. This match got the crowd hotter and it got the show off to a strong start with a segment rating of 28. Great performance from these two in the ring. Next up we have another match. We have the AWA Women's Championship match between Killer Kelly and Rio. And in a bout that had decent reaction from the crowd but terrible wrestling, Killer Kelly defeats Rio in 7 minutes and 35 seconds by pinfall with a super kick. Killer Kelly makes defense number 1 of her AWA Women's Championship title. Killer Kelly gets a 23, Rio gets a 25, and the crowd are getting hotter still as the show progresses. 25 overall. Solid from both of these two. Next up we cut to the back where Dickie Bowen is shown backstage where officials have just found him battered down. He has been assaulted he's been a victim of a sneak attack. He is stunned but still conscious, but he doesn't know who attacked him. And Dickie Bowen looks like he won't be able to make it out for that big main event where he was going to be in the corner of Nick Flag. Thomas J. Curtis is going to be in the corner of Kip Sabian, so we'll have to find out if that's going to make a difference in this big title match. This segment gets a rating of just 15, but the show rolls on. Next up we have that main event between Kip Sabian and Nick Flag for the AWA Commonwealth Championship. In a bout that had decent reaction from the crowd but subpar wrestling, Kip Sabian becomes the new AWA Commonwealth Champion by beating Nick Flag in 8 minutes and 54 seconds by pinfall with a springboard dropkick after Thomas J. Curtis interfered. Kip Sabian wins the title. Kip Sabian got a rating of 30 for this match, Nick Flag with a 25, and this gets a segment rating of 25 overall. And we have a new champion, so this is big news. Nick Flag has had the championship since episode 1 of this series, and now he has been overthrown by the newcomer Kip Sabian. And as we go off the air for this week's episode, Kip Sabian is holding the belt aloft with Thomas J. Curtis hand on his shoulder, showing he approves of what Kip Sabian's done, and he's eliminated Nick Flag from the title picture. Nick Flag turned down the chance to join Thomas J. Curtis's stable, The Network. We remember that, didn't we? And then Kip Sabian has joined The Network and he has been successful. Thomas J. Curtis always gets the job done for his clients, and it proves to be the case once again. Segment rating of 21 to end the show. That gets a segment rating of 20 overall for the show. It increased our popularity in 8 regions, and the crowd were expecting more angles and interviews again, so I've had too many matches, 2 long matches I should say, but it was a good title picture week, so we had all the titles on the line pretty much, apart from the YouTube Championship, which is defended next week. So overall, really good stuff. Welcome back, and this is Into the Card then. So our third show since our last set of tapings. We are going to go straight into the show, so join us now. First we kick it off with PT Crockett. He is in the ring, microphone in hand, the owner of AWA. And he announces that Nick Flag won't be here tonight. Despite what happened to him at the end of last week's show, he losing his title, you'd think he'd be really pissed off about what's happened. But he is there taking care of Dickie Bowen, who was in a bad way last week. He's taking care of his friend, The title will come, he says, but for tonight at least, Nick Flag is not going to be here, and the champion Kip Sabian doesn't have anything to worry about. This gets a segment rating of 26, and it's got the crowd hot, and the angle got the show off to a strong start. Next up we have Lacey James. We haven't seen her since she got suspended for throwing off Athena Fury off the stage and through the table. But she's back and she is reading through her diary. You can see her scribbling in it. We saw a few weeks back Alex Windsor found that diary before she got suspended, and she was horrified by what she read. So Lacey James is still writing down her dark thoughts in this book. And this gets a segment rating of just 12, unfortunately, but it advances the storyline. Next up, ahead of their title match later tonight, Phantasmo, the YouTube champion, walks up to his friend Bam Bam Booyah, also known as Triple B, shakes his hand and says, "Good luck, mate, tonight. No hard feelings, it's just us two in the ring. Give it your best and I will do just the same." Segment rating just 11, unfortunately. But we'll move straight on into our triple six-man tag team match with Rio, Hydrosis and Soul Killer, aka the stable of Renegade, taking on Alex Windsor and her tag team partners for tonight, the Billington Bulldogs, Mark and Thomas. In a bout that had decent reaction from the crowd but terrible wrestling, Renegade defeated Alex Windsor and the Billington Bulldogs in 9 minutes and 19 seconds when Soul Killer pinned Mark Billington with a running knee attack. Soul Killer gets a 27, Hydrosis 24, Rio 24, Thomas and Mark gets 22 and 25 respectively, and Alex Windsor gets a 23. Potential face turn from Thomas Billington was hinted at in this segment, but there was no change whatsoever. Thomas Billington was also off his game, and the match got the crowd hotter. This gets a segment rating of 23 as we head towards that main event. And in a bout that had decent reaction from the crowd but terrible wrestling, we had the title match, the YouTube Championship title on the line. Phantasmo defeats Triple B in 11 minutes and 30 seconds by pinfall with a skull-crushing finale. Phantasmo makes defense number 1 of his AWA YouTube Championship title after winning it off Mike Cash. This is the first time he's defended it and he's done it successfully. Phantasmo gets a 26, Triple B gets a 22. Triple B's gimmick is getting a bit stale, so we're going to have to bear that in mind as we go forward. Segment rating though gets a 21 overall, not too bad for our main event. Let's see how that does for the show overall. And it gets an overall rating of 20. Solid despite two poor two poor angles, so to speak, in this show, but the show increased the popularity in 8 regions nonetheless, so that's good to know. Welcome back and thank you for joining me. We're going to get straight into the card then, so let's get underway. We're kicking off the show with Nick Flag. We didn't see him last week because he was taking care of his friend Dickie Bowen, but he's back and he wants his title back from Kip Sabian. He goes to the owner, Petey Crockett, and asks, "Can I have the shot at the belt?" Petey Crockett says he'll think about it, and he says then he turns to Nick Flag and says, "If you can beat the team of Alex Rancid and Thomas J. Curtis in the main event, I will give you that title shot soon." Nick Flag is happy with that, and he goes to find Dickie Bowen to let him know there's going to be a tag team match in the main event tonight. This gets a segment rating of 29. It advances the Ice storyline, and Petey Crockett is getting better at his gimmick, so that's good to know. Because we recently changed him to a different gimmick. I think we went to owner. I think just owner of the company, because just a basic gimmick for him. Next up we have a very short match, but it is a 6-man tag team match between Lewis Blaine, Chris Smith and John Allens, the Dogs of War, teaming up with Lewis Blaine this week to take on Phantasmo, Monty Bird and Bam Bam Booyah, Triple B, also known as members of the Fox's Freak Show, in a bout that had decent reaction from the crowd but terrible wrestling. Lewis Blaine and the Dogs of War defeated Fox's Freak Show in 4 minutes and 55 seconds when Lewis Blaine pinned Monty Bird with a heart punch. John Allens 24, Chris Smith 19, Lewis Blaine 18, Triple B 21, Monty Bird 21, and Phantasmo's strong performance from him 27. Triple B was unfortunately off his game in this one, The announcing quality lifted the match, the colour commentary gave it a boost as well, but unfortunately I think because it's a very, very short match, we're going to get penalised for it. Let's have a look if the length of the match affected it. No, it didn't, but it should have done. But nonetheless, 10 rating for this, disappointing really. Next up, another short match unfortunately. Mike Cash and Tony Pacino take on the Blue Strike Force Tag Team Champions. In an extremely short match, Mike Cash and Tony Pacino drew with Blue Strike Force in 4 minutes and 33 seconds, following a double disqualification. Basically, they get into the fight and then it just goes out of hand. One of them pushes the referee, the other one gets in the way, pushes the referee as well. I don't know why they're doing it, but somehow they did, and the referee just calls the match off, and the match is thrown out. This will have to be rebooked for a future date because this is disappointing to end a big tag team match for the titles, ending in disgrace basically. This segment gets a 14, Tony Pacino gets a 23, Mike Cash 27, Blue Tiger 25 and Dan Striker 24. The colour commentary once again giving the match a boost. I think unfortunately because the match is so short, despite the good ratings of the wrestlers, it just didn't give time to breathe to show what they really can do. Next up we have Tyson T-Bone in action against Luke T. McFunk. He gets off the commentary booth for this match, and in a match that had good heat and decent wrestling, Tyson T-Bone defeated Luke T. McFunk in 7 minutes and 24 seconds by pinfall with the Gypsy's Kiss. Tyson T-Bone gets a solid rating of 35 here. Luke T. McFunk gets a 25. Luke T-Bone was off his game though, but despite that, Tyson T-Bone and Luke T. McFunk have great chemistry and it shows in their performance. That's good to know. Tyson T-Bone also has good in-ring chemistry with Phantasma, the YouTube champion, so it's good to see that Tyson T-Bone is working well with these new up-and-coming wrestlers. The match deserved better colour commentary. Well, there was no colour commentary because he was in the match, so that's fair enough. And this match got the crowd hotter ahead of our main event this evening. 27 rating overall, good start. Good one from this one, I should say. And then in our main event, we have a tag team action. Dickie Bowen and Nick Flag. Dickie Bowen recovered from that attack by the mystery opponent a few weeks ago, teaming up with Nick Flag, his friend, to take on Alex Rancid and Thomas J. Curtis of the network. And then about that had decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling. Dickie Bowen and Nick Flag defeated Alex Rancid and Thomas J. Curtis in 8 minutes and 23 seconds when Nick Flag pinned Thomas J. Curtis with the defeat. Nick Flag gets a 27, Dickie Bowen 26, Thomas J. Curtis 29, and Alex Rancid lagging a bit behind with a 23. This match got the crowd hot to end the show. They went home happy. 24 overall rating, and I believe that should give us a good show rating. So we get another 19. Again, we're finding it hard to just get over that 20 mark recently. I don't know if it's because we're not booking enough segments, which it seems to be the case because the crowd wasn't happy that they expected more angles and interview segments, but increased our popularity in 8 regions once again, so that can't be all bad. 67 people in the crowd for our final bit of the taping, and that is all for today's episode. So thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.